Good evening out there, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Build Your Best Life. I hope you are having a great day. I am so excited to have all of you out there joining us on Build Your Best Life with my two special guests. So I am super excited to have these two beautiful, handsome gentlemen out.
I'll take beautiful tonight. I'll take it. I'll take it. That's funny.
I know, right?
These two handsome gentlemen. So, all of you, wherever you are watching from, Bahamas, Nigeria, Canada, Jamaica, all over the United States, welcome, welcome, welcome. And you are going to be enlightened, excited, and you are going to be thrilled of the information that you will receive on tonight. So, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. Uh, and to our two guests, thank y'all so much for joining us tonight. I know that both of you are extremely busy men with your various ministry assignments, writing assignments, running your businesses, and so on. So I greatly appreciate you taking time from your busy schedules to join Build Your Best Life. And I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to give you the bios of my two very special guests. I have Bishop John E. Guns in Jacksonville, Florida, and Coach Ricardo Miller from Dallas, Texas. Bishop John E. Guns is a senior pastor of St. Paul Church of Jacksonville, Inc., where he has totally revived what was once a rigid, placid, traditional Southern Baptist church into an oasis of faith, fellowship, and fun. Through extremely innovative thinking and an approachable spirit, Dr. Guns has epitomized koinonia before this great congregation and has ultimately built an amazing community of worshipers. His love for worship is evident whenever the St. Paul family gathers. He was formerly educated in the public and private school system of Hampton Roads, Virginia. He earned his Bachelor's of Art degree in sociology from Norfolk Southern State University and his Master's of Divinity and Doctoral of Ministry degrees from the Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology, Virginia Union University. Bishop Guns is the founder of Operation Save Our Sons, a national movement to work with at-risk boys designed to equip them to make positive decisions regarding the law and authority. He is Bishop of Christian Education for Global United Fellowship and works on several boards and community-based organizations. Bishop Guns is an active member of Kappa Alpha Psi Inc. Of all his accomplishments, his most important is his family. Bishop Guns is the proud husband and life partner of Pastor Sanjanique L. Guns, the loving father of three amazing daughters, Alexis, Claude Cheatham's, who's married to Claude Cheatham, Deja Guns, and Taylor Guns, and committed grandfather to his grandsons Zion, John Eric, and Claude Thomas III, Claude Douglas III. So he is on the go and very busy, and we are extremely excited to have him here as well. Coach Ricardo Miller is the founder and CEO of Effective Living LLC, which specializes in life management, coaching, and personal development training. Ricardo coaches and guides professional individuals who have a serious passion and who are committed to improving their lives and businesses. For decades, Ricardo has been equipping people of all ages, guiding them with the ultimate goal of creating a life they don't need to take a vacation from. He is the host of the award-winning weekly radio talk show, Effective Living with Ricardo Miller on Fishbowl Radio Network every Monday night at 7 p.m. His passion to train and develop those seeking to enhance their lives and the lives of the people they serve extends to his monthly life management virtual classes, his annual Effective Living Life Management Retreat, the Influencer Summit, the largest meeting of its kind in the Bahamas. He's the author of 5 books and a popular guest on national and international radio shows and TV programs. Ricardo Miller is dedicated to sharing the message of discovering your grandest purpose and optimizing your highest potential as you work to create a life you don't need to take a vacation
I
from.
like that.
Yes, and I am super excited because I have the opportunity to work with both of these gentlemen on a regular basis. So I consider myself special. So thank you for being on tonight. So we would like, for both of you to, I know I read your bios, but please provide our audience members with additional information about yourselves. And we're going to go ahead and start with you, Bishop Guns, if you don't mind.
Well, my claim to fame, first of all, the bio is skewed, and she totally messed up that bio. Because what the bio should start with, Ricardo, was John Guns has been the pastor of Deborah Smith for 25 years.
Come on,
And that is his claim to fame. I mean, all that other stuff, he should have started with John Guns has been the pastor of Deborah Smith for 25 years. I don't understand where all the other stuff came from, personally. No, really, I get so embarrassed when I see that bio. And when people ask for it, I just want to burn it. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. So, but no, honestly, it's I am so super incredibly proud of Deborah Smith. Just, I know she wants to talk about us, but I'm super proud of her. Just watching what she's become, watching this amazing reinvention of this woman, and just excited watching her go to college and all this. I've had a front row seat as her pastor. So that's really what I'm excited about. All the other stuff is cool and we can talk about that. But I'm honored to be here with you. Thank you for extending to me the invitation. And then to be up here with my brother, it's just amazing. So tonight is awesome. And I'm just looking forward to hearing all of the great dialogue.
Yeah, I'm just going to add on to what Bishop said. Bishop, I was delighted when I heard Miss Deborah mention, oh my goodness, Bishop Guns is coming on. I said, oh, I got to be on too. Can you find a way to hook a brother up? But I got a chance to meet Miss Deborah because you sent her another team member to Dallas to do some training for children's ministry. Mm-hmm. And so, all affiliated with our Global United Fellowship and our presiding Bishop Ellis and all that good stuff. So to be able to connect and be able to still work with your team and have them a part of what we do in children's ministry and all that good stuff, it's just been a delight. So, yeah, Deborah, thank you for having me on with Bishop. Now I'm global on the virtual stage.
Oh, he's so full of it. It's a shame. I love him though. He's amazing. He's a genius. He's an absolute genius. Forget him. Okay, let's talk about something else.
Y'all are something.
Yeah.
Bishop Guns, you are the founder of Save Our Sons, and this ministry went from 0 to 100 in my mind very fast. I mean, it was just amazing. What was your motivation to start this ministry?
Interestingly enough, when Trayvon Martin was murdered, I found myself in this really awkward place. I mean, of course, that hit all of us very hard, especially people of color, but it really hit me in a particular way. And I started asking the question, what could I do? And so, of course, we had our Save Our Sons Summit the third weekend in May and of that year. And what was so incredible was that the numbers were over 1,100 males and 300 parents, and we were just totally unprepared for the success of that moment. And then I get on the plane to go somewhere that Saturday evening to preach, and the Lord literally says to me, this is an event. This is an assignment and a movement. Yeah. And immediately I had to come back and we had to find our way. And we did. I mean, started with fathers blessing fathers, and we were working with dads, but eventually it settled in on young men. And so now, we're doing some extraordinary things. We got news today that Pastor Cotton is relaunching our partnership with community and schools. We'll be in 6 schools, serving well over 100 kids. We had a meeting today with the sheriff and his team, and our Bridging the Gap initiative, where we're bringing high school boys and policemen together. The numbers are amazing, and so I am now really passionate about this, and as I look towards retirement as the pastor of the St. Paul Church, whenever Ricardo, whenever I say that, see that response, they almost make me think that they love me, but when I look towards retirement. And of course, her husband is chairman of my deacon board, so he and I are gonna retire together, and he can't leave until I leave. In terms of being chairman of deacon, but he's watching right now. So Dan, I said it publicly. But it's interesting as I look towards that, I see as one of my biggest opportunities to continue to work is to do Operation Save Our Sons, because as we bury many. As we have buried far too many sons, there are still so many that are yet alive and have futures. And our goal is to ensure that they have a successful life beyond just the teenage years.
Wonderful, wonderful. But I have seen it over the years, and the work just seems to be tremendous. Every time it's televised, you see a huge gathering of young men, and it just melts my heart to see, hey, someone's doing something, we're engaged, we're on the right track. So I thank you so much for everything that you have done as far as Save Our Sons and what you are doing in the community to help the community saving our sons. Awesome. And society sometimes, even family members, they just speak so negatively into our young men that they just, they don't think that they have an opportunity to do anything. So when we have programs like that, when y'all can speak into their lives and get them going and let them know, yes, I can. I wanted to be a scientist, and somebody said, no, you're too dumb, you never will. Yes, I can. This man is telling me, yes, I can. So, y'all are just making such a difference.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Trevor. Let me say this. When I look at some of the, it's interesting to look at you and Deacon Dan and the sons that you two have raised, and I think that the success of sons has a lot to do with that foundation, and then it has to do with the fact that there are persons who take them seriously. And our goal in Operation Save Our Sons is to do that. And the fact that so many people have volunteered over the years to make it happen, including you and including your husband and others, it just really kind of says to me that the work happens because there are models like you guys to help make it happen.
That's good.
Thank you. And Coach Ricardo, same question to you relative to effective living, as far as when you're passionate about something and how it motivates you. Effective living is so hot. I mean, that community is waiting for you at 6:30 a.m. in the morning when you get up, because they know that you have something hot and fresh and something to help them to live effective lives. What is your why? What motivates you to keep giving and doing this?
I think back about my beginnings. I had a grandmother who, when I was a knucklehead kid, not listening, growing up in the Bahamas, and everybody saw that and didn't see any good in me. I had a grandmother who at the time says, God gonna use that boy one day. And then moving forward, I eventually gave my life to Christ, which then I found myself working with kids, and more specifically young men. And so I had a large children's program in the Bahamas, and then I ended up shifting in that program over to boys program. And it was in that moment I found my passion to tap into the whole thing of purpose and awakening the greatness within. And over 24 years of children's ministry and working with young men, now doing the effective living platform, the goal is simply to just, if I can help a young man tap into what God's called them to, I understand that life has new meaning when purpose is discovered. So it's the goal to wake up the thing within, because I think it's Miles Monroe said this. He says, when purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. And so my prayer is that every young man finds their why, so they can live life on a whole nother level, because that's when my life changes. So I'm grateful initially for someone speaking life into me, but then once I discovered it, being able to be mentored and coached, and then being able to coach and mentor others.
All right. You're doing such an awesome job. Thank you so much. And again, we're thank you everyone out there who has tuned in. I know you are getting some great information relative to giving a hand up to our young men. We have to reach our young men in order to save them. And my special guest here tonight is Coach Ricardo Miller and Bishop John Guns. So thank you all for tuning in. You know, one of the things I've been talking about this month is mindset. And that's, you know, it's one thing when our young men have low self-esteem themselves because of how they have been treated or whatever, and then to have people to talk down to them. So then they get this mindset that is negative. They don't think they can get things done. Then they get the low self-esteem. Then it's when all these other issues begin to, you know, just fall in on top of them. So it's issue after issue on top of each other. So, you know, they have to get the help. The question I have now is like, what are the 3 top obstacles that you believe that plague our youth and young adults today?
I'm going to let Bishop go first.
I know I was going to throw it to you. I think, first of all, is a distorted understanding of what respect means. A lot of what our young men are dealing with are these issues of respect, and the way they understand respect often leads in their setting to violence or to behavior that jeopardizes their future. I think the second is just very transparent. Parents who are ill-equipped to manage 21st century children. Ricardo does an amazing job of working with children, but I've seen his work with parents. You cannot raise qualitative children if you are yourself dealing with what you just said, Elder Deborah, which is low self-esteem, or you are emotionally ill-equipped or unprepared to manage the stressors of trying to raise children. And then I think the final one is a misuse of social media, because social media has become an idol for this generation. Yeah. And while all of us uses it, all of us takes advantage of it, and we should, because it is a great way of communicating. I believe that our young people oftentimes uses it to induce conflict and to create moments of conflict that can turn into permanent, painful decisions that ultimately affects their lives.
Bishop, you dive into that right there now. Come on, that was really. I was like, those angles. I would love to hear you talk more about all of those, because those are so right on. If I can plug in 3, Miss Deborah, one I would say, in addition, would be the identity crisis, because of the oversaturation of content and visibility of so many different options of raising yourself up. You know, before you just looked in your home and hoped you got something to follow from home, but now these kids got these tablets, they got TV, they got all kinds of stuff that's influencing them, and so they're unsure as to who they are. And so I think a lot of our young men are struggling with, what should I aim towards? You know, before you had someone to look up to, even if it wasn't in your house. And so I think identity would be one of the first things that I would say. And then the second one would be I think we're living in a day where information is broadly spread, but unfortunately, information is gathered but not applied. And so I think a lot of our young men are finding themselves disconnected because they're not interested in applying what they discover, because we have a system that's basically teaching just to become informed, but not to apply what you become to discover it. And then last but not least, I'm going to piggyback off of what Bishop just said, and that would be being in homes once again with parents who don't get it. And one of the things that I've been saying for a while is a growing child needs a growing parent. You know, a growing child needs a growing parent. And so there are different stages of development in a child's life, and the parent has to also be prepared to grow in proportion to the various needs that that child will have. And, you know, I've seen them, Bishop. I know you've heard tons of testimonial moments where parents would have come and says, you know, this boy just don't listen no more. He turned 11 and he don't listen no more. Or he turned 15, he don't listen no more. And one of the things I believe is when they don't listen no more is when your influence showed itself to not be able to capably command their attention anymore. And so that's when the disconnect really starts to reveal itself. And I think it's important for parents to say, okay, my son, in my case, my son is 18 right now, and I'm trying to learn how to lead him at 18 because it's not the same as when he was 8. You know?
Definitely, and I like that a growing child needs a growing parent, because if that parent is stagnant and living back, if I try to raise my kids what I was doing when I was their age, it's not going to work. And I remember one of the things when Bishop first came to St. Paul, and he was like, well, back then, how many have encyclopedias in your house? Hardly no one had them.
Yeah, well,
And computers came out. How many have computers? Everybody looking around. COVID, they said a lot of our kids now are failing because they had to do school virtually. Why? Because parents didn't have Wi-Fi, didn't have computers in the house. Why? I mean, and I'm going, I got a Mac sitting on my desk. I got a laptop right there. I got the iPad right here. I got the the smartphone right there. And I use it all. So if I'm using it, I know the kids need it because they're doing so much more in school than I ever dreamed of. So parents, do you not understand that your children need these things to be their best? They need them. It's not, I know a lot of times they'll ask for different things, but these are things that they need. They need these things.
Yeah. That statement, a growing child needs a growing parent, is one of the most powerful statements I've ever heard as it relates to parenting. And it's interesting, I think, when we go back to the idea, Deborah, Ricardo, of this, of identity. I think that too much of our children's identity is being shaped by the things that we give them permission to do. It's funny, whenever we have our grandkids, and I think that all of us are guilty of this, is that when they get real antsy, the first thing we do is give them a gadget.
Yeah.
Right. And we say, go. So Zion, because Elder Deborah is Alexa's godmother, right? So she's known Alexis like ever, right?
Yeah.
Zion, her and Claude's firstborn, Zion is a master of gadgets. And he's 4. and it's scary. Yeah. Because a part of the way we raised him when he was initially getting out with all of us was through gadgets.
Yeah.
That's the way we entertain him. Was through gadgets. And so I think that one of the things that we have to probably rediscover is family time devoid or absent of gadgets. I mean, one time I was in the car with the kids, with all the girls. We were driving to Orlando. And nobody was talking for like 30 minutes. Nobody said anything. And I looked in the mirror, and all 3 of them are gadget just gadget consumed, gadget obsessed. and I snapped. I had a bad moment.
Yeah.
I had a bad to put them all up, put
Yeah,
every
yeah.
gadget up. We're gonna talk. We're gonna
Uh-huh.
talk. So for about 15 minutes, I said, "Tell me what you're doing."
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing. Tell me tell me what's going on in school. It's good. And then I said, "Fine, go back to your gadgets because you don't want to talk to me." But it was interesting. I think we did the family experiment, and we was like, "Wow." A lot of us who are, relatively good parents. I mean, I think my wife and I are great parents. Sometimes find ourselves losing touch,
Yeah.
and so I think that whole idea of being a growing parent is amazing, and I think a lot of our sons are lost because we find it difficult to communicate with them.
Yeah. Bishop, with you saying that, I'm thinking about my son. He texts me, "Hey, Dad, what time you heading out? Where you at?" "I'm in my room." "Don't be coming texting me from your room. Come knock on the door." Just, what's going on? Hey, what's going on, man? You right in the house. You gonna text me? So you're dealing. This is definitely a generation that is different. They're just totally different. And one a part of me having to now learn, give him what he needs that I have to give him, that is not changeable. It's a principle, and it's going to be what it was with my grandmother. It was with my mother. It's going to be with me. It's going to be with him. And I'm trying to figure out what are the principles to pass on, and not hold on to the methods that was just a fashion or a form of training initially. And so, it's like the whipping. The whipping was a method. It's not necessarily considered the best method, but you can get arrested for whipping now.
All right. Yep. That was awesome. Okay, and kind of moving on into, you're talking about parenting. Do you think that parents' influence matters in the outcome of their children's lives? Do their influence matter in the outcome of their children's lives?
You want to go, Bishop?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. But it's interesting. I think that influence now is a little skewed in light of all of the other influences.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we cannot deny the power of music. We cannot deny the power of, I don't even know if it's called hip hop generation anymore or hip hop
Yeah.
culture. Um, TikTok, Instagram influences our kids in ways. And so again, recently we just had a situation in Jacksonville where a young man was murdered. And basically it was through social media that the beef was created,
Wow.
and so it was difficult, and then the parent was actually involved in the beef,
Wow.
in the conflict. And so and so yeah, parents have a tremendous influence. I've seen it with our girls and how Sandra Nick, Pastor G as we call her, is has shaped and influenced them, and I see it in the way, I remember, one day, Deacon Dan he was cutting the grass. He's deacon of the year. He does anything he to do. He was cutting the grass, but he had their grandson helping him
Yeah. Yeah.
cut the grass that day.
Yeah.
And I saw this teenager who's like six everything, right? I mean, but I saw him helping his grandfather. Well, their sons are hard workers. And so now the grandson is being influenced by the model of his father, but the model of his grandfather, and that legacy of work. And so, yes, it does influence. And I think that sometimes as parents, we can't give our children away to the world. We have to hold them close, protect them, and then guide them as they're going through these learning stages. And I think in the end, they will be what the Bible says: train up a child in the way they should go. And when they mature, they will come back to the lessons that were taught. That's why what you just said was so masterful. We can't be wedded to the methodology, but we got to be wedded to the principle. And so, what principles do we pass on, even if we have to change the methodology? That was brilliant. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I would add to that, Bishop, the reality of the village has changed. I mean, there was a time where you say everybody and everyone throughout the neighborhood had some form of assistance in raising our kids. And so parents had support, and parents were the lead to possibly uh, be responsible for influencing their kids, and then the community somewhat reinforced a lot of the principles, all depending on where you were raised. But I think now today, as Bishop mentioned, also with all of the different types of influence that is happening, we have, I mean, the internet. We still have the friends. We still have the gadgets. All bringing television. All bringing different forms of content to the life of a child. So one time I was in the garage doing some work on my car, and my son was sitting in there, and I was just in the car, and he was outside, and we're talking, and he said, "Hey, Dad," and he asked me a question. I said, what in the world? What kind of question is that, right? And so I was like, "Well, this is how that go. This is how that." He said, "Oh, that's what Google says too." And oh, that's what Google says too. Now, because we were talking, he inquired to see if I knew. Well, he didn't have to, because Google was already interrupting and how I was about to deliver what I was about to deliver. and so I'm glad that I was correct with Google, because he could have walked away and said, "Man, my dad don't know nothing." Which right then the Holy Spirit gave me a nudge and says, it is in moments like that you can either continue to keep the influence on them, or that's when they dismiss you and say you don't know what you're talking about. And there's been now moments where I've said to him, "Hey, let's go on YouTube and let's look that up," because I still don't know everything, and he's still asking questions. So I think for parents who has the responsibility to influence their kids, you have to have that open line of communication, and then you have to be willing to say, "I don't know, but let's find out together." That's next level right there. I think that's important. I think it's humbling. I think it's honest, it's transparent, and there's been a time when I think in every parent's life when the child see them as all know it, as all know it, and then there's a moment where they start to discover you ain't quite all knowing, especially with this generation. They're like, Bishop, I know the kids be like, "Hey, you know what you can do with that phone?" You be like, "Do you use this with your phone? Do you do this with your tablet?" I'm like, "Can I do that with my tablet, RJ?" He's like, "Yeah, Dad, you can do this." So now the roles have changed even a little bit in the level of awareness that they have in relation to who we are. And, there was a time all correction and all information came from above. Now the kids are giving us some content, helping us to stay alive and stay involved.
Yeah, they are on top of it. I'll read some of the comments we have out here. Darnell Alexander: worldliness influences and distorts their vision. Now they are more inclined to believe the rapper, dealer, or murderer. So they seek to live the way they learn, and from the new role models of social media, of false perception and lies. Wow. You cannot be married to the methodology. You have to be married to the principle. That's Carla Cotton. Thank you. What does it say? About the changing villages. Yeah, so it's a big difference, and as parents, we have to keep up with everything that's going on. And also, that's it's good to be truthful and transparent. Parents don't know everything. They have to exchange. You have to exchange information with your children, and that's good. And I like that because no, we don't know everything, but it's good to to admit that. Don't just don't make up an response, because that's not going to go over very well. And admit sometimes you don't know anything, and if they're trying to help you with your gadgets or whatever, take that in. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, as adults, if we look back, we can remember moments when our parents were like, "I know she don't know what she said." I can still remember my mom trying to answer questions and she didn't know what she said. I'm like, I don't know why she tried to say she don't know. She don't know.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, we have to keep those ears open and be on top of it. You know, you can't sleep when you got kids.
Yeah.
You got to be on your A game.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
yeah, because it's interesting. No, I want to say, Deborah, it's interesting as I'm listening to this conversation, how our children are salvaging us in
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
Because I would be incredibly lost
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
without them.
Right.
And there are times when my asking them is just, my dad's 93. So there are times my dad will ask me stuff. And now I'm asking my kids stuff.
Yep.
And I'm going,
Yep.
oh my God,
Yep.
I'm becoming my father.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I get it. And I am now quick to say, my
Yeah.
kids say, well, Dad, what do you I don't know.
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you're gonna go check another
Yeah.
source anyway after you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
finished talking to me. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm comfortable now to
Yeah.
push them to sources of knowledge and
Yeah.
not feel the pressure to be able to answer every question.
Yeah.
So
So good.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think is the impact that young men have on their peers? They have the impact they have on each other.
What's the question again?
What is the impact that young men have on their peers?
Oh man, I think it varies. I think it varies a lot because you got some guys who are a little bit more aggressive, and they can be the same age and have massive influence over others, and then there are others who they're together but they're not so much influencing each other. They're being influenced by someone someone outside of them. That's all of them together is trying to meet up the power with. But ultimately, it changes. I think it's changes, but there is influence in a set group of boys or a set group of young men. One of the things I've tried to teach my son over the years, I think he got it a little bit. I'm having to deal with it a little bit as well because I'm feeling the repercussion of it. And I told him, I say, hey, don't follow the crowd, lead the crowd. Right. And so I say, hey, the only person you listen to in that class is the teacher, nobody else. Okay. You pay attention to the teacher, no one else. And so he got real close to the teacher and learning to read and all that stuff. Now he challenges my thoughts. And so he's stable and solid. And I'm feeling the repercussion of him being stable and solid because he has a position and he's not swayed by a lot of other people's opinion. Because I really tried to help him on early on to not be so influenced by those around him, but to be able to have a healthy position in and of himself. And now at 18, he clearly says to me, you want to hear my thoughts? Hey, my mother will say, I don't care. You don't have no thoughts in this house. But you said you're a different generation. Go ahead, express yourself. Let me hear what you got to say.
All right.
it's interesting. Influence is such a can be such an ambiguous word because the idea of influence is that I can either inspire you or I can discourage you. I can either drive you
Good.
or I can create rationale or reasons that will inhibit you.
Yeah.
And so when I look at how young men interact, and it's funny, in Operation Save Our Sons, we have all these different, programs and things that we're doing. Well, recently we did something called Bridging the Gap, which is a program in partnership with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. And we're praying one day to be able to have it all over the country. And it was interesting when the young men went in to the program, 4 sessions. These young men had very strong opinions about police.
Mm.
And the thing that changed their opinion about police, it's only 12 of them, but literally 8 of them changed their opinion about police. And here's what did it. When they were walked through the simulator and they were now the police.
Wow.
And when I tell you those kids shot and killed everybody, I mean, Deborah, they shot up everybody. And it was crazy. It was in that moment they were influenced.
Wow. Yeah.
But the influence was the result of having an opinion and an expectation challenged by something they could not deny.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
And I think that a part of the challenge of influence is putting our kids in situations where their opinions and views can be challenged without us challenging them.
Yes.
Let the experience challenge it.
Yeah.
And then we talk them through it so that they now form not just a different opinion, but a healthier opinion. And then whatever their peers say, they now have an experience that is just as strong as the verbalization of their peers' opinion of a situation.
Wow, that's good.
That's good. I know as we say our prayers, one of the prayers that I pray, for our children individually as well as our grandchildren. And for my oldest grandson, who just turned 14, I always pray that, because I know his values or whatever. So he doesn't mind working. He's learning how to cook. He can grill. He can clean the house. He's DJing. I mean, he has not just to say somebody else say, come over to my house and DJ. He has his business. He is doing this.
Nice.
And so I pray that he's a leader and not a follower. That he watch those around him and select his associations. So, I do believe that it's very, very important because we always say birds of a feather flock together. But what kind of birds are they? You want it to be a good type of bird. Because if it's some old ducks or something like that, and you just want them to, no, we want to soar with the eagles. We want to be with the best birds, So I think influence is a big thing.
Yeah.
Because people can lead you down the wrong paths, and you can be totally different individuals. You can take a RJ and place him with I'll just say Joe as an example. And Joe is thugging, Joe is stealing, Joe is selling drugs, but they are in the same car and they get pulled over. Who's guilty?
Yeah. I've had to share that with my son. I had to tell him, hey man, guilty by association. You hanging with the crew and now you said, hey, I was just in the back seat. Or I was standing alone. I know a young man, as a matter of fact, Bishop, a couple of years ago, young man, he graduated, I think, 10 months early. And so he did not have to go back to school because he had finished early, and he was preparing to go to the Navy, had already applied and had done everything. And so I think he graduated in early on, ahead of time. And so I said, hey, man, I highly suggest, he came by the church, I highly suggest, get a job. Get a job, idle hands, be careful about it, just hanging around, that could be a problem. Pastor, I just want to chill before I go off to the Navy. I just want to chill. Long story short, I got a call from his grandmother. He's arrested. Why is he arrested? Oh, the boys were sitting around. The police pulled up. They all ran off. He jumped on the motorcycle with the guy. Both of them ran off. The backpack, the guy gave him the backpack to hold while they ran off on the motorcycle. Well, the backpack got marijuana in it. Well, when they were caught, it wasn't his backpack, but he had the backpack on. And guess what? That just killed everything.
Everything.
And then everything just kept spiraling downhill from there. And that was not him, but because those were neighborhood guys, and he thought, let me just stand up there. If everybody's going to run, I might as well run too. And before you know it, And so I thought that was such a sad situation, but that was association that really played out in a very, very negative way for a young man who had a bright future and everything for him. When he came out, he got arrested. He was working at a fast food restaurant. They wouldn't keep him. They wouldn't keep him. They wouldn't give him a job at a couple of different restaurants he was trying to get a job at. And then now he's back in prison.
Wow. Yep. What do I say? It just takes 1 second. He was on a road to having a good credibility, doing something in his life, and that took 1 second and it's gone.
Yeah.
So, that's why I always talk about credibility.
Yeah.
Yep. So sad. All right. Y'all believe we're getting down to the end of this?
All right.
This is so good. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, as a village, what can we do to assist our young men in building their best lives? And then when I say as a village, pastors, educators, mentors, but the both of you are pastors, coach. What can we do as a village?
You want to go, Bishop?
Well, I'll start by saying I think it's things like this. I think providing, the one thing that's come out of this pandemic is that content is king. And so I think that the more information that we provide people with, what you're doing here, Deborah, I love your motto. What is it? I'm helping you create a life that you don't need a vacation from.
Yep. Yes,
That's
sir. Yep.
that's ridiculous. First of all, I'm really kind of angry that God did say that to be first. That's amazing. I love that. I so love that. That is incredible. But it's interesting. I think the village really is a commitment by a network of people and entities to protect our young people while they're in the process of emerging and evolving. It is to create space for them to make mistakes, but not let the mistakes be permanent in impact and be devastating in outcome. Because mistakes are made,
Yep.
and if the village is what it ought to be, it can provide correction within its own context, and it can provide lessons that will grow this young man and ensure that he understands that this mistake is not permanent, but it has potentially permanent implications.
Yep.
I think the other thing is that we look for all of the ways to expose them. When I lived in Virginia, I lived in this apartment, and the apartment was like a block away from the Jewish Community Center. And I can remember, Deborah and Ricardo, every summer, I would walk in the morning, and every summer they would gather these Jewish kids, and there would be a bus outside the Jewish Community Center, and they would take them to various places around the city. So one day I mustered up the courage to ask, "What are you guys doing?" And they said, "Oh, we take them to museums, and we take them to this, and we take them to that." And so I asked the question, not to be naive, but I want to be clear. I said, "Why?" And I'll never forget the statement. And the statement was by a Jewish man who worked there, and he said, "We understand that if our children see the world, they won't be afraid of it."
Mm.
Isn't that big?
Yeah.
That if they see the world, they won't be afraid of it. And I think our mistake in the African American community is we don't show our children the world.
Yeah.
We show our children us.
Yes. Wow.
They have to see the world. We have to move them beyond beyond us. We have to take them places, but then we have to expose them to different cultures
Yeah.
and be comfortable enough that being Black doesn't mean that you only get to know Martin King. You need to
Yes.
get to know Gandhi, and you need to get to know Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and you even get to know those people who are not very good people.
Yep.
So you'll understand that life is filled with the good and the bad. So yeah.
Wow, that's so good. And I would add to that. I think for parents watching this, I think we're living in a day now. No longer are we thrown into a village and have to embrace it. But I think because of how everything's changing, I think villages are built now. We can build our own village. We build a community of support that reinforces what we tried to establish or how to influence our household, and because at the end of the day, there are people who live in a community and know no one in the community, because they come home, drive straight into go straight into the garage, bring the garage door down, and when they leave, they may wave to the neighbor on the right, may wave to the neighbor on the left, but it's no longer what it used to be when everybody knew each other and played certain roles in helping to raise a child or to assist in influencing the kids within the neighborhood. Now, I think the village is built around finding that coach, getting that youth pastor, making sure that you have the therapist, making sure the counselor, the guidance counselor at school, reinforcing this whole niche of you're going to need support. You can't be who you were created to be without somebody. So if that's going to be the case, then I need to make sure that I know that you're going to need some people that I'm going to help construct around you. And parents, I think more now than ever, like I told my son, I never, when I went to school, they did not teach no math that had letters and numbers together. I didn't know that. I wasn't in that class. I just knew math was numbers. Now they have maths with letters, and it has, that's just beyond me. Okay. So with that said, me building my village to support or reinforce my parental responsibility would have it to be connect with any teachers who are tutors at school, connect and make sure I know who the guidance counselors are at the child's school, so I can say, hey, I need some extra support. At church, the youth pastor, the children's pastor, the senior pastor, there is support. There is support. So I think now we could take like Lego blocks, little bricks, and just start assembling. And that takes work. But I think parents, going back to what Bishop mentioned, what they do too often is they just give the tablet over to the kid, or they send them in the room to the computer game, and they don't do the necessary work to build that reinforcement that's going to be necessary in raising that child.
All right. That's awesome. Yes, we all have to work together because God gave us all different talents, and we have different expertise and skills. So we have to work together to assist. And like you say, when we were in school, it was just basic arithmetic or math. Now it's algebra and all other kind of things, and they don't even multiply like we used to multiply, put the numbers in the row, and they don't even do it that way anymore. They put it on the table and multiply. I'm like, what? That's too many steps. So we have to, work together. We want to save our young men, so we don't do that by speaking negatively. We join together. We speak positively, so they'll have a positive mindset. We find those people that can assist them. Like, I don't know everything, so that's why I'll ask Nathaniel Butler or Grady Robinson, come teach these young men about finances. Coach Ricardo, you have a son. He's, you've raised him up to a teenager. Come and tell us about sons. What are some of the things we need to know? Whatever. So you find those people that can give you, that have the expertise, and you put that Lego set together until you get that full village, and you have what you need to give that hand up to that young man, so they can be the best that they can be, because that's all they want. They don't want to be thugs. They don't want to be looked down upon. They are intelligent. When I say, since I have been doing this program, I have run into so many talented young men. I mean, art that you would not believe. The musicians, just it's everything. Every talent that anybody could have, our young men have them. But sometimes they don't know where to go, who to ask for help. So we have to seek them out if they're not going to seek us out, to give them that hand up to assist them. So I thank both of you for coming on here tonight. And I know I saw the comments flying. So I know everybody that was tuned in was enjoying everything that you had to say. So you have some closing thoughts or anything that you have going on in your ministries or whatever that you would like to market or announce tonight. But I really appreciate you coming on. This has been wonderful. We can start with you, Coach Ricardo.
Well, what I will say is I wanted to run from the camera and grab that book of yours, that Build Your Best Life. If we got parents who are watching this, I think, see it there. Look how much sticky note she got in that, Bishop. She got, let's see that sticky. She got that book all sticky note up. You talking about she's read her book. You know you like your book when you've read it yourself a few times. That's good stuff. But what I would say in closing, I'm a strong believer in reading. I've encouraged my son over the years to read. I believe reading allows you to acquire content far beyond the time span you were alive. You can learn what somebody learned in 40 years. You can get it in a weekend. And so I think that's important. And so parents, I mean, it's never a bad thing to invest in a book. And so Miss Deborah, you wrote an incredible book. And I would highly suggest, recommend, and encourage those of you that are watching to go to our website and get that book. That's what I'll highly suggest in my closing.
Well, thank you. Bishop?
Well, I think I think that my closing comment is keep making the effort to grow. A growing child needs a growing parent, and a growing child needs a growing church, and a growing child needs a growing school,
Yeah.
and a growing child needs growing friends.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking that away. Thank you, Deborah, for inviting me on. I mean, I'm proud to be your pastor, but more importantly, I think I'm grateful to see what God is doing with you. And so thank you. And to Coach Miller, man, you dropped so many nuggets tonight.
Thank you, Bishop.
I've been typing like stuff you've been saying, because I think that you've tapped into something. And so thank you both. And I look forward to seeing what God will do next time.
Okay, thank you so much. And I did put the information in the chat box in the comments, but my website is www.buildyourbestlife.org. If you go on there, you can purchase and get an autographed copy of my book, and also read my blog that I drop every Monday, and my calendar of events that I have. So again, thank you. And that is www.buildyourbestlife.org. We have 3 lives each week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Periscope. So please join us here at Build Your Best Life. And as I go, I want to say, as you're on your journey to be your best you will run into distractions, rough terrain, and detours. Don't let any of these negative aspects of your journey stop you. Though they may slow you down, keep going to be the best you so you can build your best life. Thank you. Good night. Bless everyone. And gentlemen, thank you so very much.
Bishop.
Both.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless.
Night.